Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming this afternoon. It's a pleasure to see you all. And I want to tell you a story of a nurse's uniform, a little girl and a nurse. And the story starts when the little girl was barely 3 years old. Her grandmother had made her and given her a little play nurse's uniform. And I want you to picture that little uniform. It was about this big. It was made of 1950s white starched linen sheets. And on the front, it had a little sewn-in red cross on the bib. And she literally adored that uniform. She wore it everywhere. She wore it to the shops, in bed, when her own mother wore her British Red Cross volunteer nurse's uniform, and obviously when she played make-believe hospitals. And when she was in that world, she was Nurse Nancy, the comic character from her favourite comic, Twinkle. So as the years went on, the uniform grew smaller, she grew older and wiser, and she no longer played in make-believe hospitals anymore. But actually, that uniform held a special power, a secret power, and that power was her inspiration to become a nurse one day. So many years passed, and at the age of 14, she was suddenly very seriously ill overnight. The diagnosis meningitis, and she found herself in hospital for 3 long weeks. She was scared. She didn't know what was going on. She was in an isolation room. Her parents couldn't come and see her very often because they had 4 other children to look after, and she found herself mostly alone in that single room. But she met some remarkable nurses at that time, and those nurses helped her face her fears, to realise that she wasn't alone. And while she cannot remember their names, she can remember what they said and what they did and how they made her feel. And they helped her face her fears. They filled her days with laughter, conversation, and compassion. And it was at that moment that she made a resolution that she would one day become a nurse. One day she wanted to spend the rest of her life in the purpose of nursing, and that would be her purpose throughout her life. When she eventually went home to recover, she never went back to school that academic year. And 8 months later, when she did return, she'd lost all of her interest in her academic studies. She started to fail all her exams. She was really miserable, and the misery continued until eventually she made that decision, her life-changing decision, that she would leave school age 16. And she went to work in a local supermarket, Tesco. And while she loved the job, she could feel that dream that she had to become a nurse gradually fading away. And I guess always in a story there's a bit of a surprise. And her steadfast parents helped her reignite that passion to become a nurse. And less than 3 months later, she slipped into her first nurse's uniform. She was a student orthopaedic nurse. She'd made it, and her pride knew no boundaries. If she'd have known that that was the first day for the rest of her life, that uniform she would wear for the next 45 years. So obviously the uniforms changed over the years. It was blue, then it was white, and then it was red. It was checks, then it was stripes, and then it was plain. It had a cap, and then it didn't. It changed from a nurse's to a midwife's to a nurse's uniform. And now it hangs proudly on the back of her office door next to her PhD gown. But remember that little girl, aged 3, in that dinky nurse's uniform? Well, that little girl is me. Hello, my name is Professor Greta Westwood. I am a registered nurse of 40 years, and I'm now the CEO of the Florence Nightingale Foundation. I lead an amazing charity where we find nurses and enable them to reach their potential in pursuit of their own leadership development. It's an amazing job, and it's a thing that I do every single day. And as you know, I've told you already, it's not about what nurses do always, it's about how they make people feel. And nurses and midwives make people feel safe, secure, supported and special. And actually, I have first-hand experience about how that felt for my parents. My mother felt helpless. My father had suddenly died. She was by his bedside, but she didn't know what to do. She was helpless in that moment. But as a nurse, I knew what to do. I knew how I could help her. And so with my sister, we lay my father to rest. We spent the next 90 minutes chatting, laughing, sharing really special memories of him. And that enabled my mother to say goodbye to him. We gave him his last personal care, and what a special moment that was. My mother died. When she died at home, but she died around paramedics in her room. And on her bedside cabinet was a newspaper article about a nurse that'd been awarded a CBE for services to nursing and midwifery. And I looked at one of the paramedics in the room. I could see him looking at the newspaper article. I saw him look back at me. And I looked at my mother, and that nurse in that newspaper article was me, her little girl. And I wonder whether that was the very last thing that she'd read. I work tirelessly for this foundation. As an organisation, we support nurses in their pursuit of excellence. And it's that I do every single day to now. And I want to take you back to that nurse's uniform. After my mother died, I was sorting through her belongings, and I found a little box. It's this box, and it's had Greta written on the front. When I found the box, I opened it, and inside, wrapped in tissue paper, was this little uniform. She had kept it all of those years, and I had no idea. This hidden treasure in her house, I had no idea what had happened to it, but there it was for me to find after she died. So I think this uniform represents and is a symbol of what we do every day. It's a symbol of, in my life, a life filled of dreams fulfilled, of lives touched, and the enduring power of compassion in nursing. And it is a testament to the wonderful work that nurses do. It is a testament to the incredible journey of a little girl who had a dream that nearly was lost, but she had no idea where that dream would take her. And I thank you for listening.